गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट वंस अगेन। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है और वणक्कम और सत श्री अकाल एंड नमस्ते। राइट, एट द आउटसेट आई एम सॉरी क्योंकि यहाँ देयर वाज अ सडन डाउनपोर और चेन्नई में जब ये डाउनपोर हो जाता है एट टाइम्स द करंट आल्सो इज पुट ऑफ एंड अ लॉट ऑफ साउंड एंड आल्सो आई हैड टू delay this program. Right. Today we will do a peek into everyday China. और इसमें हम क्या देखेंगे? The hype of rise versus the reality of decline. मैं ये बार बार बताता रहता हूँ. We will see China in two phases hereafter. There will be one facet which will say China is rising and it is, it's going to take over USA, X, Y, Z. The other part tells you that it is declining. What is going to be the reality? I am very clear about it. But it will be interesting to see in the short term because the implications of this story or this dichotomy, ये जो फर्क है इसका नतीजा शॉर्ट टर्म में है अगले 3, 4, 5 साल। उसके बाद तो चलो चाइना के बारे में बोल सकते हैं। ओके, तो आप देखिए आजकल क्या हो रहा है चाइना के अंदर। ये जो शी जिनपिंग के थॉट हर स्कूल का बच्चा पढ़ना जरूरी है। इट इज मैंडेटरी इन ऑल एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स। देयर गाँव एग्जाम टेस्ट आर समथिंग लाइक GRE एंड और बोर्ड एग्जाम्स एंड समथिंग लाइक दैट, एंड दे आर बीइंग क्वेश्चनड ऑन दैट। सो you're being indoctrinated at a very young age about Xi Jinping's thoughts. And if you don't know Xi Jinping's thoughts, भाई भूल जाओ, आपको नौकरी भी नहीं मिलेगा, आप एग्जाम भी पास नहीं करोगे। So that's how China is looking at it. Okay, then we have all heard 20th Party Congress में Xi Jinping बोलता रहा सिक्योरिटी, करप्शन, ये कर रहा है। इनका एंटी करप्शन जो वॉचडॉग है, जो भी उन्होंने नियुक्त किया है, वो बोल रहा है हम क्रैकडाउन खत्म करेंगे, चलाएंगे। और ये खास बात लास्ट लाइन में देखिए, ये बोल रहा है सेल्फ रेवोल्यूशन। ही इज टॉकिंग ऑफ सेल्फ रेवोल्यूशन। ओके, एंड द डिसिप्लिन इंस्पेक्शन कमीशन एंड ऑल विल नॉट लूजन द ग्रिप। सो कल्चरल रेवोल्यूशन के बाद अपने आप से रेवोल्यूशन कर लो, अपने आप गोली मार लो, बस सब कुछ बाकी ठीक हो जाएगा। राइट, एंड दे आर गेटिंग आफ्टर देयर banking, financials. So one more chap in the financial sector has gone. Last month one chap went, this month one more chap has gone. Why they're doing it we don't know. Let's see how it pans out, right? But this will continue, right? So this is something which we're going to keep seeing. बार हम देखते रहेंगे कि करप्शन चार्जेस में लोगों को सफा कर देंगे, और ये होगा कोई जिसने शी जिनपिंग को बोल दिया कि भाई ये नहीं कर सकता। ओके, आज जो पीक इनटू एवरीडे चाइना इज बेस्ड ऑन दिस ओल्ड मैट्रिक्स ऑफ मैन। मैंने पहले भी बताया आप सब लोगों को कि शी जिनपिंग का जो आजकल रवैया है वो डिप्लोमेसी, टेक्नोलॉजी और मिलिट्री को लीवरेज कर रहा है। और उसके प्रॉब्लम्स तो बाकी हैं, डेमोग्राफी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, एक्सपोर्ट्स, प्राइवेट सेक्टर, जॉब्स, कंजम्पशन, फूड सिक्योरिटी, हेल्थ केयर, डेमोग्राफी और क्लाइमेट चेंज। क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में हमने जब फूड सिक्योरिटी के बारे में बात किया था विद बाला सुब्रमण्यम, मैंने हाईलाइट किया उनका जो क्रॉप्स ड्यू टू sudden rain, a lot of crops have been damaged. There's, as even today, there is a serious warning कि अगले 3-4 दिन फ्लडिंग होगा साउथ चाइना में, और ये भी संकेत है कि अगला हफ्ते के बाद नॉर्थ चाइना में बहुत गर्मी हो जाएगा। तो ये क्लाइमेट चेंज आ रहा है उनके पास। दिस इज नॉट नॉर्मल व्हाट्स हैपनिंग। ओके, नाउ लेट्स फर्स्ट लुक एट द फर्स्ट टॉप 3। इसके ऊपर क्या, दैट्स द हाइप। द हाइप इज अबाउट द डिप्लोमेसी, टेक्नोलॉजी एंड मिलिट्री। सो लेट्स सी द हाइप And then we'll see the reality of the decline, which is in the bottom two lines. So, diplomacy. अगर आपको याद है डिप्लोमेसी में जी जिनपिंग मेड अ बिग इशू कि ईरान और सऊदी अरेबिया का डील कराया, बट द रियलिटी इज सिंकिंग इन नाउ. व्हाट इज द रियलिटी? रियलिटी इज व्हेन जब इनका डील हो रहा था, इकोनॉमिक डीलिंग ऑफ पाकिस्तान, सॉरी, इकोनॉमिक डीलिंग ऑफ चाइना विद एनी अदर कंट्री इज गुड, बट बियॉन्ड दैट दे हैव बीन अवॉइडिंग. चाइना का रवैया यही था कि हम आपके अंदरूनी पॉलिटिक्स में हम घुसेंगे नहीं, आपका सिक्योरिटी आप जानो, हम सिर्फ आपके साथ इकोनॉमिक डीलिंग करेंगे, आपको कर्ज देंगे और कर्ज आप लौटा दो और हम आपका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना देंगे. पर अभी दे हैव टू पुट देयर फुट इनटू पॉलिटिक्स. ये 2 दिन पहले के आर्टिकल है. जब से ये आर्टिकल मैंने डाउनलोड किया, 2 और आर्टिकल आए हैं साउथ चाइना मॉर्निंग पोस्ट में. ये बोलते हैं कि भाई क्या चाइना ये कर पाएगा, क्या चाइना पॉलिटिक्स में घुसेगा? एक बार पॉलिटिक्स में घुस गया तो सिक्योरिटी में भी घुसना पड़ेगा. अगर सिक्योरिटी में घुसना पड़ेगा जैसे अमेरिका के साथ हुआ, opposition will start sniping at China. Is the PLA prepared to shed blood? My firm belief is that if you want to be a superpower, you have to shed blood. Take any superpower. Britain, USSR, UK, the Mongols, the Romans, they all shed blood to become a superpower. China wants to become a superpower without doing that. Can it become? If it doesn't shed blood, it will not be a superpower. That's my firm thing. And that today people are asking. That's the thing. Okay. अभी इनका टेक्नोलॉजी ये अभी बोल रहे हैं कि दे हैव, कि उन्होंने सबसे स्ट्रॉन्ग मिलिट्री एक्सप्लोसिव को काबू कर लिया. ये CL-20 है जो HMX का डेरिवेटिव है, राइट? HMX वैसे भी अनस्टेबल कंपाउंड है. HMX नॉर्मल डिटोनेटर्स वगैरह वगैरह में इस्तेमाल किया जाता है और ये एक डेरिवेटिव है. इट इज इवन मोर अनस्टेबल. So today China says they have done that and they have controlled it. Let's see. Then they say they have the most powerful hypersonic wind tunnel. A wind tunnel, कल भी मैंने बताया, is required to test out air vehicles, hypersonic glide vehicles, everything. And now they're talking of 30 Mach. ये सच है या नहीं क्या पता, बट बोल रहे हैं टेक्नोलॉजी, मिलिट्री, both these put together, that's the hype they're creating. Then they want to launch 13,000 satellites to suppress Starlink, and they want to put it in a higher orbit. Yesterday also I mentioned about it. And over the next 10 years. So that means they're going to increase the number of rocket launches. And they're preparing, and that's big money. They're going to put money in it. All these cost money. There's big money and high risk programs. Whether they'll give a payoff, we don't know. Okay. Then they say this is based on a paper. They've come out with a paper that we've got quantum computers which are going to be faster and will process things better than AI. But mind you, quantum computing, this is just a paper. But hype बात बना रहे हैं कि हमारे पास क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग का ज्ञान है. आज तक क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग अभी तक प्रूव नहीं हुआ है. ओके. और ये कि हमारे पास क्रूज लाइनर्स बना रहे हैं, राइट? ये माना जाता है सबमरीन्स, एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर, क्रूज लाइनर्स, हाई एंड शिप्स, डिस्ट्रॉयर्स वगैरह बनाने से, सुपर टैंकर्स बनाने से आपका बहुत कास्ट टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए. अब वो बोल रहे हैं हमने शुरू कर दिया ये बनाना, प्लेन्स भी बनाना शुरू कर दिया. सब टेक्नोलॉजी का हाइप है ये, राइट? ओके. फिर ये इनका डींग है कि हम सबसे पावरफुल रडार भी बना रहे हैं, राइट? ये इट्स अ न्यू जनरेशन सिस्टम which can suppress adversaries' output एंड ब्लैंक वट एवर ही डज, कि हम शक्तिशाली हैं। देखिए बात यह है कि ये जितने हाई टेक आइटम हैं इनके ऊपर बहुत खर्च करना पड़ता है, बहुत इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ता है, और इसका परिणाम हर वक्त सक्सेसफुल नहीं होता। क्या चाइना के पास इतना पैसा है इसमें डुबोने के लिए? क्या इसमें सक्सेस आएगा? अगर सक्सेस नहीं आएगा तो आम आदमी का क्या हालत होगा, अभी देखेंगे वो रियलिटी भी। ओके, डिप्लोमेसी। ब्रिटेन से चाइना है शट अनऑफिशियल पुलिस स्टेशन इन यूके। ये चला रहे थे ना, मैंने एक बार पहले भी जिक्र किया, यूएसए में चला रहे थे, यूएसए ने बंद कर दिया। उनका जो पुलिस स्टेशन का इंचार्ज है वो जेल में डाल दिया। अब ब्रिटेन भी कर रहा है। ये धीरे धीरे ये एक एक जगह सफाई कर हो रहा है। ये इनका पोल बाहर खुल के निकल रहा है। ओके, नेक्स्ट, अभी हम बात करते हैं इनका अर्थव्यवस्था के ऊपर। ये माना जा रहा था कि कोविड खत्म होते इनका रिबाउंड होगा और सब कुछ, इनका अर्थव्यवस्था बढ़ जाएगा, और इनका अनुमान था कि इस साल ये 5% बढ़ाएंगे जीडीपी को, क्योंकि ये जीडीपी फिक्सेटेड है। जीडीपी इनका देवी है, उसी को पूजा करते रहते हैं। अप्रैल में कुछ बाउंस हुआ, मई में टप हो गया। और ये हेडलाइन देखिए, ये बोलते हैं कि चाइना ट्रेड एक्सपोर्ट टम्बल इन में, कॉल फॉर बीजिंग टू बूस्ट डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन को बढ़ाना चाहते हैं, वर्स्ट एट टू कम। संकेत आगे, इट्स नॉट हैप्पी। इनका एक्सपोर्ट जो है 7.5% गिर गया, इंपोर्ट्स भी गिर गए। इनका इंपोर्ट्स इंपॉर्टेंट है, अगर इंपोर्ट नहीं आए तो ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं कर पाएंगे, बिकॉज ये सब इंपोर्ट क्या है, इनपुट मटेरियल्स, रॉ मटेरियल्स है, राइट। इनका डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन बढ़ाना है। मैंने वो इकोनॉमी का जो वीडियो है आप दोबारा देखिए, मैंने बोला था जब तक इनका लोकल डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन बढ़ेगा नहीं, कुछ नहीं होगा। और ये कंजम्पशन बढ़ेगा नहीं, मैं ये आज लिख के दे रहा हूं आप लोगों को, उस वक्त भी मैंने लिख के दिया, पिछले साल भी लिख के दिया, अभी भी बता रहा हूं। ये जितने भी रोल है, राइट, दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट। मैं इसको हर एक, इसीलिए मैंने लाल अक्षर में लिखा। ओके, इसमें क्या बोलता है, चाइना स्टेट बैंक कट्स डिपॉजिट रेट टू बोल्स्टर इकोनॉमी बट ऑफिशियल्स रिमेन टाइट लिप्ड। उन्होंने रेट कट तो कर लिया। रेट कट से क्या है, आप डिपॉजिट करोगे तो आपको ब्याज कम मिलेगा। इसमें इसमें होप इज दैट इफ आई गेट लेस डिपॉजिट or less interest from my deposit, I will spend it and then I start consuming. इनका कंजम्पशन का पैटर्न थोड़ा बड़ा है, किसमें, खाने पीने के सामान में, ट्रैवल, हॉलीडेज वगैरह में, बट कोर कंजम्पशन इनका शुरू नहीं हुआ। चाइना का निवासियों का कोर कंजम्पशन क्या है, घर खरीदना, प्रॉपर्टी खरीद नहीं रहे, कोई फ्रिज नहीं खरीद रहे, हेवी इलेक्ट्रिकल्स नहीं खरीद रहे, राइट। तो ये सब रुका हुआ है। So consumption which matters, which can kickstart the economy, has not started. Then he says, market bracing for further weak indicators. Worst yet to come, weak indicators. वो बोल रहे हैं you need to have policies to address economic woes. Will the Chinese government be able to do it? We don't know. They're talking of rapidly worsening exports, broadening property distress, ongoing disinflation. I'll come to disinflation. So, जितने भी हमने वो उसमें दिया है, आप दोबारा हम जाके देखेंगे वो मैट्रिक्स। ये मैट्रिक्स में कंजम्पशन नहीं है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टप है, एक्सपोर्ट्स टप है, रियल एस्टेट टप है। तो ये कब मैंने ये मैट्रिक्स बनाया, अब अगर आपको याद है 2 महीने पहले आपको दिखाया, पर ये 1 साल से वो भी मैं अगले इसमें दिखाऊंगा कि 1 साल पहले मेरा मैट्रिक्स क्या था, अभी क्या है। और चाइना जिस तरीके से अपना पटरी से निकल रहा है और डीरेल हो रहा है, इसी मैट्रिक्स के ऊपर चलेगा। आप याद रखिए, ये मैट्रिक्स में दिखाता रहूंगा आप लोगों को। ओके, वापस चलेंगे उसी लाल में। पोस्ट रीओपनिंग डिमांड, domestic demand is failing to offset falling overseas orders. ऑर्डर्स नहीं है वो, उसका थोड़ी देर में बताऊंगा। डेट क्राइसिस, उधार का गुब्बारा, उसके बारे में मैंने काफी बात किया। और डिफ्लेशन, डिफ्लेशन जब एक इकोनॉमी में हो जाता है तो उसका प्रॉब्लम है, वो कैंसर की तरह है। क्यों? इसीलिए रेट कट सब कुछ हो रहा है। नॉर्मली क्या है, दर बढ़ते हैं। मान लीजिए एक मोबाइल फोन है, आज 100 रुपए है, इन्फ्लेट होते हुए इन्फ्लेशन के साथ 104 रुपए हो जाएगा कल। उससे अच्छा है, मुनाफा होगा। थोड़ा इन्फ्लेशन अच्छा है, ज्यादा इन्फ्लेशन अच्छा नहीं है। ये किसी आस्क एनी इकोनॉमिक स्टूडेंट, ही विल टेल यू deflation is if this mobile phone tomorrow becomes 96 rupees. If it becomes 96 rupees, it's cutting into your profit or having no profit. If that happens, manufacturing will close. Then you're in a contracting spiral. And this disinflation and deflation, I am talking to you for the first time. ये पहले बार मैं आप सबके साथ जिक्र कर रहा हूं, क्योंकि ये मैं 4-5 आर्टिकल पिछले 1 महीने से देख रहा हूं कि डिफ्लेशन डिफ्लेशन डिफ्लेशन। आज मैं लेके आया हूं और इसको ट्रैक करेंगे आगे। जब आपका इकोनॉमी सुकड़ रहा है, राइट, आप अंतरिक्ष में जाना चाहते हो, तो कहीं ना कहीं तो ये मामला है ना, इसके बीच में कोट है, there's some gap, how will that be filled? Okay, then see this graph, ये this is what the graph today, आप YouTube, किसी YouTube चैनल में देख लीजिए, ये ग्राफ दिखाई देगा। और सोर्स क्या है? चाइना कस्टम्स। ये मेरा ग्राफ नहीं है, चाइना कस्टम्स का ग्राफ है। इनका एक्सपोर्ट और इंपोर्ट दोनों टॉप एंड डाउन है, जीरो के नीचे है, राइट। ओके, नेक्स्ट देखते हैं, इनका इन्फ्लेशन देखे, वो भी डाउन है। आप किसी तरीके से आप देखिए, चाइना का प्रॉब्लम, रियलिटी क्या है, इनका प्रॉब्लम है अर्थव्यवस्था डाउन हो रहा है। ओके, ये देखिए, कैंटन फेयर हुआ था, और जो कैंटन फेयर माना जाता है कि चाइना ओल्डेस्ट एंड लार्जेस्ट फेयर, इन्होंने अभी 2 साल के बाद शुरू किया। 4-5 हजार इनके जो एग्जिबिटर जाके इन्होंने दुकान लगाया। बहुत लोग आए थे, पर अमीर देशों से कोई नहीं आया, सब अफ्रीका से या वियतनाम से या साउथ एशियन से आए। ये इन्होंने बोला हम ऑर्डर देंगे, आप हमें सस्ता आइटम दीजिए, हम उतना नहीं पैसा देंगे। अगर सस्ता आइटम ही खरीदना है तो लो टेक आइटम्स खरीदना पड़ेगा। तो लो टेक आइटम्स का सेल हो रहा है, और वो भी सौदे के ऊपर, जिससे लोकल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स का मुनाफा नहीं है, जो इनको पहले वेस्ट में मिलता था या यूएसए से मिलता है। कोई नहीं आया। ये यही नहीं है, शेंजन में भी एक फेयर हुआ, एनर्जी फेयर, उसमें भी नहीं आया। ये किसी ने हमें बताया कि हमारा दोस्त, ये सिलसिला जारी है। इसका कारण बहुत है। एक तो इनका जियोपॉलिटिकल टेंशन से इन्होंने सबसे लड़ाई मोड़ लिया, तो कोई आना नहीं चाहता। और एक और कारण है, अहम कारण मैं आगे बताऊंगा आप, राइट। सो कोई नहीं आता इसके ये इससे, और सब सोचते हैं कि भाई हम क्यों चाइना के ऊपर डिपेंड करें, क्योंकि कोविड का जो एक्सपीरियंस था वो अच्छा नहीं था, वो कड़वा एक्सपीरियंस था सबके लिए, राइट। तो ये कोई नहीं आ रहा। सो देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम। अगर इनका बिक्री नहीं हो रहा है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं हो रहा है, कंजम्पशन नहीं हो रहा है, तो जाएगा कहाँ? ओके, ये बात चाइना वाले बोल रहे हैं कि भाई आके हमारे यहाँ फैक्ट्री लगाओ, पर इनका जो रूल्स, नए रूल्स जो आ रहे हैं, वो पाबंदी है कि आप यहाँ से पैसा नहीं लेके जा सकते हो बाहर। कोई बेवकूफ होगा कि वहां बाहर से आके आप पैसा लगाओ चाइना के अंदर, और आप जब मुनाफा कमाते हो पैसा वापस नहीं लेके जा सकते हो। तो अगर ये है हालत, तो कौन निवेश करेगा चाइना के अंदर? अगर निवेश नहीं करेगा, इनका अर्थव्यवस्था कैसे बढ़ेगा? आप, ये सब इनकी इन्हीं की लेख है, मैं अपना कल्पना नहीं है मेरा ये। पर क्या ये जो मैंने पहले बोला उसमें फिट हो रहा है? फिट हो रहा है। अगर कोई फिट नहीं हो रहा तो पूछिए, मैं सवाल दूंगा, जवाब दूंगा। और उसके बाद कोई बताए मेरे को कि ये सुपर पावर बन रहा है, तो मैं बोलूंगा भाई सुपर क्या मतलब क्या है, और पावर का मतलब क्या है? तो हम आम तौर पर, हम हमारा जो आप न्यूज़पेपर और मैगजीन्स वगैरह देखिए, सब बोलते हैं चाइना सुपर पावर, इकोनॉमिक सुपर पावर, घंटा सुपर पावर ये हो रहा है। इनका इकोनॉमी बड़ा है, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है। मैं भी बोलता हूँ, तो हो सकता है 10 ट्रिलियन हो, 17 ट्रिलियन हो, उससे क्या लेना देना है? मोटा आदमी है, हिल नहीं सकता, किसी दिन हार्ट अटैक हो जाएगा। वो है चाइना का हालत। इस इनके पैसे की वजह से, राइट, कुछ तो बोलबाला होगा, कुछ तो ये करेंगे आगे। ऐसी बात नहीं है कि कल के दिन लुढ़क जाएगा, पर आगे भी नहीं जाएगा, ये मेरा मानना है। ये नहीं है कि चाइना ऐसे देश है कि वो बेकाबू है, वो काबू में आ सकता है, राइट। अब ये जी जिनपिंग डुअल सर्कुलेशन के बारे में बोल रहा है, और ये भी बोल रहा है, कहीं मंगोला गया था, वो बोल रहा है वहां एक्सट्रीम सर्कमस्टांसेस आ सकते हैं, वर्स्ट केस एंड एक्सट्रीम सिनेरियोस, विथस्टैंड हाई विंड्स एंड इवन पेरिलियस स्टॉर्म्स। कि भाई ठीक है, आने दो पेरिलियस स्टॉर्म, आप भी जाओ जी जिनपिंग जी, आप अपना झंडा लेके और बोलो कि भाई हमें बचा लो। चाइना के अगर आपका एक्सपोर्ट नहीं हो रहा है, फैक्ट्री बंद हो रहे हैं, तो जॉब नहीं है, तो आप कैसे जाके इंटरनल कंजप्शन करोगे? ये ड्यूअल सर्कुलेशन का थ्योरी जो है, जो 2020 में इसने ये थ्योरी जारी किया था, और मैंने इसके ऊपर लेख भी लिखा 2020 में। मैंने बोला ये नहीं हो सकता भाई, उस वक्त नहीं हो सकता जब इनका अर्थव्यवस्था इधर से इससे तो अच्छा था, और हम सब मर रहे थे कोविड के वजह से। अब कैसे होगा? तो ये मेरे ख्याल में, ये जैसे जब अगर री जिनपिंग जैसा इनका प्रेसिडेंट है, इतना श्योर था 20th पार्टी कांग्रेस में कि मैं सब कुछ कर दूंगा चाइना के लिए, अगर वो आज ऐसे बोल रहा है, कहीं तो घबराहट है अंदर। देखिए ये सब इनकी इन्हीं की कहानी है, और हर रोज मैं देखता हूं ये ऐसे हेडलाइंस। कुछ ही मैं चुनिंदा हेडलाइंस आपके साथ ले, आई ओनली चेरी पिक्ड हेडलाइंस एंड ब्रॉट देम टू यू। ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर अदर्स, जैसे उन्होंने कुछ नहीं होगा, सब हो जाएगा ठीक, सब हो जाएगा ठीक। दैट ब्लडी स्टूपिड कम्युनिस्ट पीपल विल से दैट ओनली। एनीवे, देयर इज अनदर थिंग कि भाई कैन चाइना स्पेंड इट्स वे टू ग्लोरी डेज ऑफ इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ? कि भाई पैसा खर्च करो और अर्थव्यवस्था उठाओ। दिस इज द केन्सियन थियरी। केन्सियन थ्योरी क्या है कि भाई लोगों को पैसा दो ताकि वो खर्च करें, और वो खर्च करेंगे तो कारोबार चलेगा, कारोबार चलेगा तो वो मुनाफा होगा, मुनाफा होगा तो और होगा, इसके मुनाफा के साथ नौकरी मिलेगी, लोगों को नौकरी मिलेगी तो पैसा मिलेगा, ये एक साइकिल शुरू होगा, राइट। तो इसके लिए खर्च करना पड़ता है। चाइना ने ये इन्वेस्टमेंट का मॉडल ही था पहले, ये कौन सी नई चीज है कि दोबारा कर सकते हैं ये इन्वेस्टमेंट? इन्होंने किस में किया? प्रॉपर्टी में किया। प्रॉपर्टी टप है आज। तो हमने पहले वो लाल में देखा, लाल अक्षरों में, अगर याद है तो दोबारा मैं बता दूंगा। देखिए, प्रॉपर्टी ब्रॉडनिंग, प्रॉपर्टी डिस्ट्रेस। पहले ही it was in distress, today it is even broadening. So this is what the words they use, not my own imagination. So they are in pain. Okay, right. So okay, we were here, back to glory days. So they can't, what will they spend on? High speed trains which are full of poop and running at 25% capacity. They have more flats than they need. Even if China today stops building property and flats, there will be no problem. They have other infrastructure which they don't need. They're investing into infrastructure which is useless. They're trying to do south-north water transfer, which is at risk due to climate change. So if you see that thing, where will they spend on? That infrastructure model has failed. So this is the end point. Okay. Why are doubts about China's export data increasing amid a stalling economic recovery? This, ये जो आर्टिकल है 10 दिन पहले के आर्टिकल है, मैं जानबूझ के लेके आया हूं इसको। उस वक्त जब it was being mentioned that the economic recovery was doing well, etc., this article came. Self-doubt. Why is there a question mark on the exports? Everything. Someone has asked. Obviously, the figures which Chinese are putting out is not correct. There is some problem in it. Now, just see, ये कितने झूठ बोलते हैं. According to customs data, China's exports rose by 14.8%. This is what they put out 10 days back. And now their exports are down by 8.5% officially. Right? So there's huge discrepancy in the data coming out of China. When does discrepancy of this nature come out? When people are lying. Right. They're also talking of 3 takeaways from China's price data as deflation worries rise. They're looking at deflation. Officially, they are looking at deflation, and it is probably happening. That is why the Chinese are talking. Okay? Too many articles about deflation. Okay? Then they said, oh, so what if the West doesn't come? So what if America doesn't come? All that. We will trade with Europe, we'll trade with Africa, we'll trade with America. This is it. Central and East European trade ambitions reach the end of the line. The Central and East European nations are the ones which are around Ukraine. They're stuck. They can't spend. Their economies are down, if you see that. If countries like Germany, France, and Belgium, and the richer countries, Sweden, Finland, they are not able to, Holland, they are not able to bail out China. You think these countries like Bulgaria, Romania, and Czech Republic, and all these will be able to do it? So this is all Hungary. Yeah, their economy is even worse. Okay. Then Then there's this great thing, de-dollarization. Yuan will become the thing. So one question is, can China's yuan stake a bigger claim for global prominence following US debt ceiling crisis? This was what they said. Yeah, by US debt ceiling, they'll collapse. Yuan will come in. Okay. 2 days later, why is China's yuan internationalization push failing to meet expectations? Why? No trust. They control everything. You go put money in yuan in China, tomorrow it will not be there. You do shake hand with China, you have to count your fingers after that. Will you trust a yuan? I will not, because it's got Mao's photo on it. And this man killed 45 million people. How do I trust such a note? I'll not put my money. All the best to anyone from outside who wants to put his money there. So, you know, when people talk of de-dollarization and yuan will come up and all, they're all, you know, to be put it in very blunt terms, it's all cock and bull stories. Right? We spoke of quantum systems. Quantum systems need chips, and their chip imports are down. They're not importing chips, but they want to make quantum thing. They want to go to moon. They want to go to Mars. All that. And there are fraud deals happening in semiconductors. I spoke about it in the last peek into Everyday China, where I said, I think Oppo opened a semiconductor plant, and they said we'll make great semiconductors, and they had to close it because they were frauding. So there are a lot of dichotomy in Chinese behavior. A lot of hype, reality is something else. That's why I chose this subject today. Okay, and then of course, China has said we will expand our nuclear capability X, Y, Z. Now US will also do it. Don't count the US out. Remember, China is now trying to put a man on moon. Okay, USA put it in the 60s. Their technology and their systems are far ahead of the loop. They've been there and they've done it. USA has got different problems. But when it comes to these things, they're far ahead of the loop. Okay, fusion energy. I remember, if you people remember, fusion energy, they have uh, done the basic experiment of fusion energy at Livermore in California. The rest of the world is still looking how to get hold of fusion energy, how to harness fusion energy. They're far ahead. So I think one has to view all this in the right perspective. Okay, demography. China's biggest cities shrank last year, but they might have a more disastrous problem. The population in the cities are going down. So if the population in the cities are going down, you can imagine all their services, everything will get hit. Okay, so this is the, what I put across to you. There's a hype, and this hype is about the first three in that matrix which I showed you. That is military, diplomacy, and technology. And the reality is the bottom. Right, I'll get that matrix back, and before I take on questions, we'll finish with that. Yeah, here it is. Diplomacy, technology, and military is their hype. That way they're doing everything. They want to leverage that and hop on and become a superpower. The rest, they have a problem. Okay, I've done. So I'll take on questions now. Okay, so I'll go from top to bottom. Yeah. John Doe says, ask whether China is willing to expend blood depends on who you ask. Military men with battle experience like yourself say no. Political commentators, however, say yes, based on Xi Jinping's personality. Well, John, I'll have to disagree with you on this because uh, there's been a lot of outcry whenever a Chinese person has died. The national outcry when one UN peacekeeper died uh, in Kenya or somewhere, I don't remember where, right, uh, was huge. People are not prepared to this thing, and that's why they're hiding all their, you know, casualties. They've never made their casualties known even during the Vietnam War. So they have a problem. We have to understand that. या सर आपने चीन के मुद्रा मुझे बनाकर अच्छा चर्चा का प्रारंभ किया है परंतु अधिक से अधिक हिंदी में समझाएं ऐसे में पहले बार आपके प्रोग्राम में सम्मिलित होने आया हूं जय हिंद या जय भारत देखिए बात यह है कि मैं हिंदी में भी बात करूंगा इंग्लिश में भी बात करूंगा आपका विडंबना मैं समझ सकता हूं आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड बट ये बात याद रखना कि बहुत लोग हिंदी नहीं जानते राइट खास करके जो साउथ के हैं वो अंग्रेजी में बात करना पड़ेगा अगर मैं तमिल या तेलुगु में बात करूं మీకు అర్థం అవుతుందా అవదు అందుకే నేను ఇంగ్లీష్లోను హిందీలోను మాట్లాడుతున్నా देखिए ये मैं तेलुगु में बात किया భాష मैं तमिल में भी जानता हूं తమిళ్లో కూడా பேச தெரியும் எனக்கு அதுவும் நல்லா பேசுவேன் இந்த விஷயம் எல்லாம் அப்படியே சொல்லுவேன் देखिए ये भी तो हमारे ही भाषा है तो इसीलिए मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश में मिक्स करके बात करता हूं नेशनल चैनल है ये ओके ओके राइट ओके शुड India join NATO plus to counter China? Why should we? I think our external affairs minister said very clearly, we are not going to join any NATO. NATO is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. We are tough on our own. There's no problem. We can handle China. We don't have to. We don't need NATO to handle. And why is Quad? What is Quad? And it is India's history. We've never been part of an alliance. We cannot afford to be part of an alliance. Right? Because if you are an alliance, you have to compromise a lot of things. And those are compromises which India cannot undertake. And the state of development of India demands that you be self-sufficient and आत्मनिर्भर. तो जब तक आप आत्मनिर्भर नहीं होते, आपका राइज भी क्वेश्चन मार्क है. और जब NATO का मतलब क्या है आप यूएसए के अलाई बन गए जिस तरीके से पाकिस्तान बन गया पाकिस्तान का हालत देखिए अगर आप पाकिस्तान बनना चाहते हो तो नो प्रॉब्लम ओके सो देयर नो क्वेश्चन लेट्स नॉट इवन टॉक ऑफ इट लूज टॉक है ये कोई अमेरिका में कोई बोल देता है तो यू कम एंड पिक इट अप एंड आस्क मी दिस ओके Jain sir my question may be out of context but in Hindu editorial Gajinder Singh infantry general said that there is surely no war between India and China will be favorable to us. Look, war between India and China will not be favorable to us because it will wreck our economy X, Y, Z. But we can handle China. That doesn't mean you go to war with them. Okay, we don't have to go to war with them, but we can handle them. And Gajendra might have his, because I don't know, I have not read his whole thing. So unless I read the whole article, I will not be able to comment on what Gajendra has said. I know Gajendra well. He was, I know him from much before. So I don't think, one should quote things out of context. But at the same time, even for China, it will be bad if they get into a war with India. That's why they don't. There'll be no winners in the India-China war. Let me tell you this. Okay. In any case, I'm going to talk 16th, 17th. I'm going to compare मैं कंपेयर करूंगा 2 दिन, 2 पार्ट हैं, पार्ट 1 पार्ट 2 आप हमारे अपकमिंग प्रोग्राम्स में देखिए। 1962 वॉर एंड 2020 का कंपैरिजन, एंड उसमें मैं बताऊंगा आप लोगों को क्यों चाइना किस लिए कर रहा है और क्या कर रहा है आज के माहौल में। ये सिलसिला 62 में शुरू हुआ और हम समझते नहीं है चाइना क्या कर रहा है। जब तक आप समझोगे नहीं कि चाइना क्या करना चाहता है और क्या कर रहा है, वो लड़ाई के लिए नहीं आएगा। ये मैं आज लिख के दे रहा हूं आपको। ये मैंने 2 साल पहले 2020 में आप देख के दिस टॉक्स में आदि के चैनल में मैंने जून या जुलाई में इसी वक्त बात किया था कि चाइना 3 साल तक यहाँ वापस नहीं आएगा, और वो आए नहीं। अभी मैं बता रहा हूँ अगले 3 साल भी नहीं आएगा। या डिस्पाइट दिस वी आर इंपोर्टिंग आइटम्स फ्रॉम देम एट लुक तुषार, बात यह है कि वी आर इंपोर्टिंग आइटम्स फ्रॉम देम विच वी नीड एज पर आवर चॉइस। देयर इज अ प्रोग्राम आई एम अवेयर वेयर we it's a program by which slowly we'll get off them. Many items which we are importing from China, we value add them and export them. And it's okay, because what happens is if you import from China, you leave the pollution to China, because many of these source materials are polluting processes. Okay, those that pollution is accumulating into China. See, so far I have not spoken of the pollution which China faces. There's a problem. Okay. If China cannot shed blood, then it needs mercenaries. That should be China's takeaway from Ukraine. Are there any? China will not raise mercenaries because it is part of their culture. They will not take immigration. They will not use mercenaries. Yeah. Why India does not support Japan, Israel openly? Yeah, we support Japan openly. That's why we are part of Quad. We have a strategic equation with Israel, so we are supporting them. Why India is not aggressively countering China by supporting Japan, USA? We are doing it. We are part of Quad and we are countering them. Look, you have to understand the equation between USA and China, equation between Japan and China, and the equation between India and China are 3 different things. Where we have a common thing, we support them. Where it is in between, 1-to-1, we don't. And plus, you have huge trade dependency on China. You can't just gang up with everyone. You're not an ally to anyone. Are you prepared to give up your autonomy and become an ally, like part of NATO and things like that? There's a problem. Who'll take care of 1.4 billion people? There are major issues in this. One has to have a balance. When you say I'll do this, I'll do that, you have to have balance, and you have to have self-confidence to handle this. Why am I telling you all this? It is not for you to go and we start fighting with China. The idea of telling you, explaining everything is so that we handle China better. We deal with them better. We have the self-confidence to handle them better. We have the self-confidence not to get into a war. And yet, we get what we have to. Okay? Yeah. It is understandable that China's current woes are at the making of its leadership. How long can the system continue in the present phase without serious opposition from other members of their polity? A very good question, Vishwanathan. The thing is that what has Xi Jinping done in the 20th Party Congress? He's wiped out all opposition. The complete Politburo and the standing committee of the Politburo are his hand-picked guys. There's no opposition to him today. And whatever opposition is there, he's purging them. I just showed you financial. There are other purges also going on. Maybe one day I'll have to have a program only on the anti-corruption and purging, which Xi Jinping is doing. And he's already sent Li Keqiang home. Right? Wang Yi is also his sent packing. Okay, Hu Jintao, we saw what he did to Hu Jintao. So there's no opposition. He'll continue. In fact, Monday there'll be an article in Financial Express I have written. Why is China in a hurry? There are many reasons. I've given about 5, 6 reasons. Read them. I'll put that article out on my next episode. You'll understand why China is doing what it is doing and why Xi Jinping is doing what he is doing. And why is he's betting on military technology, diplomacy, and military to leverage China into superpower status. Whether he can do it or not is a different thing. How would you assess the quality and capabilities of Indian-made artillery system in comparison to NATO-grade counterparts? I'll answer this. I'll do a separate program on artillery. At that time, I will answer this. But let me tell you, we are good. Okay, we are good. I'll tell you a couple of stories when I do that thing. Yeah. Have you observed any significant advancements on areas of improvement in Indian artillery technology? Yeah, that's what I said. I'll explain it to you in detail when I talk about the entire artillery transformation which has happened. Right? We have all technologies today, and they're comparable technologies. I mean, just to put it in perspective, the Dhanush is an upgrade of the Bofors, and Dhanush is a top of the line gun. So it's technology. Okay, right? Do you think that India can replace Chinese imports even by 1% through domestic production? Or companies seem overly happy to import than to invest in some manufacturing? Well, you have a point, Tushar. I must tell you that you have a point and it's a valid argument which you have put across. Okay. But there is a well thought out plan which is being unrolled by the government. So at this point of time, I'll have faith in the government. Let's try. Unless you have faith in someone, how will you progress? In any case, your economy is doing well, right? And in any case, this trade uh, builds interdependency. If you have trade, you can also weaponize trade. We did that during 2020. We weaponized economy, so we can do that again. So it's not a bad thing. You have to you look everything. You have to see how to turn it around. Okay, you know now that with imports going, if China, we stop import from China, and okay, we'll suffer. So what if China will suffer even more? So you can weaponize it. So you look at the positives, right? In a conventional war with China, what are our capabilities to strike mainland China given that without using long range ballistic missiles? Look, let me tell you, in any conventional war, we're not, neither China nor we will be able to use long range ballistic missiles. Why? What is a ballistic missile? How do you know that the missile is ballistic and non nuclear? Vis-a-vis a ballistic nuclear missile, because a nuclear missile warhead is also ballistic. There's nothing different. So we will not go there. Look, 2020 to now, we have not even fired rifles. Why are we imagining that you will fire nuclear weapons and long-range ballistic missile, strike mainland? You strike, you finish off Beijing, they'll finish off Delhi. दोनों भिखारी बन के दे दो बाबा दे दो बोलते रहोगे. वो नहीं होगा. What is the history of two nuclear powers doing this kind of foolishness? Look, that's again why I say, a lot of people tell me, sir, you should get that fellow onto your channel. You should get this fellow. He's so good. His analysis is good. His बोलने के तरीका अलग है. नहीं. We are talking of serious business. This is national security. You have to think through everything before you start killing each other. Okay. Okay, so that is why I get people who are who have gone through it. I mean, how can you say some presenter or some chap who does presenting on YouTube well to come on this channel? Right? People who come here and talk with me are army commanders, GOCNCs, DGMOs, heads of arms like me. They have to have that equivalent level. अब एरी गैरी बंदों को मैं लेके आके आपके सामने बात नहीं करूंगा एंड वॉट एवर इज स्पोकन विद ऑन इन माई चैनल इज फैक्ट बेस्ड एंड very clear. That's why yesterday when I got interns, I did a rehearsal with them, what they'll speak. I told them what to speak and not to speak. And when they couldn't speak, I stepped in. This is a serious channel. This means business. We are not going to talk, uh, you know, there's no waffling here. And my methods are old, time tested. Okay. Right. Vishwanathan, I mean, this is not to tell you, that don't ask questions. This is not against you, Quantum. Uh, I'm just explaining myself, right? Uh, so, will the USA and West invest and support investment in India on similar scale given their present predicament with China? If a mark, it's a question mark, we have a long way to go. They have no other choice. They have no other choice. Otherwise, their economies will start collapsing. Okay. They don't have a choice. They have to come to India. And this is something which I've been telling again for the past 2 years. The only country which can match China in scale, space, volume, and capability is India. For much of the developed world, India is the alternate to China. But it is up to us. India should not become another China. India should become a better India. That is my view. If you become another China, then you will be like China. In the 90s till about 2000, if you see, we were being compared. India and China were being compared. We were comparable economies. Suddenly, China took off in a direction. We have not. Are we worse off for that? We might not be. We might be better. We are going slow and steady. We are the tortoise. He's the hare. आप ये चीज अलग अलग अंदाज से देखोगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि जो इंडिया अभी तक हम जिस तरीके से प्रोग्रेस कर रहे हैं, हमारे कल्चर, हमारे लोगों का काबिलियत, हमारे जरूरतों के मुताबिक हम कर रहे हैं. हम ओवरनाइट अगर हम चाइना बन जाएंगे और चाइना का हालत ही हम आगे जाके पाएंगे. राइट. या our capital city is less than 500 kilometer away from LAC, but their capital city, अरे यार क्वांटम एआई छोड़ दो, ये नहीं होगा. ठीक है, ये एक मिसाइल फायर कर दिया कि 500 किलोमीटर हो या 5000 किलोमीटर, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Okay. Every time there has been meeting between India and China, something happens on LAC. Now with 2024 elections and SCO summit, should be willing to take some gray zone operations against. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. We must do it. We must do some gray zone moves. And we are doing some gray zone moves. Holding this G20 meet in Arunachal and in Srinagar is some kind of a gray zone activity. You have sent a message. Okay. So there are, India does its own gray zone. ऐसी बात नहीं है. Last year, if you remember, everyone, China was very happy कि नेपाल में एक पूरा कम्युनिस्ट गवर्नमेंट आ गया. वहाँ उलट हो गया. So we do our own thing, but I agree with you that we have to think gray zone and we have to think across Trans Himalayas. Yeah, Rishi, how are you? Great to see you on this show. What is the role of rare earth elements in the economy of China? Great. I mean, your semiconductor chips, you need rare earths. And China has cornered this rare earth market completely. So they are doing well. They have, the thing is, they have rare earths, but they don't have the technology to make semiconductors. They thought they'll borrow the technology from others and do it on their own, but they have failed. Okay, until 2022, it was not believed that Russia will go to war. How can one be sure China will never go to war? Yes, that's a very good question. Uh, you might have believed that Russia will not go to war. But Russia has been at war ever since it violated the Minsk agreements. It has taken Crimea, it has got involved in Syria, right? It instigated some kind of a civil war within Ukraine. It undertook operations in Georgia. So the that it is your thought that Russia was not prepared to go, but it always exhibited that it is prepared to go for war. On the other hand, China has always exhibited signs that it does not want to go to war. Xi Jinping tried what he did, but now having got a punch on his nose, he's wary. And Xi Jinping and company will never go to war unless they win. That's the point, and they can't win at this point of time. Okay, so next generation warfare will be based on artificial intelligence, robots, and drones. India needs to focus on this. Yeah, I agree with you. Everyone says this. Okay. China, if you want to replace China as world factory, remember the cost will. Yeah, that's what I said. So we should be our own. We should develop on our own. We should not become another China. Okay. Should India work with US and other countries to break China into multiple countries, Tibet, Xinjiang, North? Look, it's not so easy. It's very easy to say this on YouTube and for me to say, oh, karna chahiye and all that. It's not easy. Okay. This transformation of China to what it is has happened over the past 100 years, or 70 years, really. In fact, I'll put it 100 years because some part of this started even when the nationalist government of Chiang Kai shek was there. So it's not going to be easy to break it. Okay. And the communists, for all what you say against them, they're pretty sharp and they're very intelligent enough to know when you try this and they'll stop it. When you had the capability of doing it, you didn't do it. Today, when the capabilities for you to do it are so less, you want to start doing it. It's a dichotomy. Okay, why don't we have a plan to develop indigenous bombers like B-52 Lancer? How can exoskeletons help? See, these are all gravity jetpacks and exoskeletons and all are experimental stuff. Okay, we don't know whether they'll work or not. Okay, as far as bombers and indigenization and all, we don't have engines. Till the time we have engines, we can't do anything about it. Engine technology, that's the problem. Let's see if that GE deal goes through. You have engine technology, maybe 10 years, 20 years hence, we'll have something like bombers. Galwan was a non-conventional combat since it involved use of stones by supposedly professional soldiers. How can one rule out that they will not resort to such means? They will. That's what they tried again in Yangtze. So what if? Okay, where should India's core focus on be on next 10 to 20 years? We need to develop on our own and become, strong on our own, self-contained, indigenized. Okay, so unless we are able to do that, we can't this thing. Remember, I'll tell something which I read about Deng Xiaoping uh, now about 30, 40 years back. He said, to become a superpower, one has to avoid war. You avoid war for 10 years and develop. You become stronger. Then you avoid war for another 10 years, you become stronger. And as you keep avoiding war and you keep developing, you become stronger. Till such time, you don't need to go for a war, and that's when you'll be a superpower. That's what his theory was. I subscribe to that theory to some extent. Okay. Only thing is, Xi Jinping didn't play the theory well, but that I'll explain some other day. Putin claims that he is not at war but a special operation. How does one know Xi Jinping? Look, the political conditions are different. Again, I told you, you have to look at Russia's condition not from Minsk agreements, at the Maidan Revolution, X, Y, Z. There's a history. You don't, you just don't transpose what is happening in Russia today to China today. What is the history? What is the geopolitical history? What has happened for the past 8 years, 10 years? This is not the first war which is happening in Ukraine. So there are a lot of other issues. Okay. So you do this transposition without thinking deep, then you will say, oh, Xi Jinping will come tomorrow. He can't. He won't. Okay. India is looking for permanent seat in USC. What are the potential leverages we can use against China to compel them to support our? Yeah, they'll come. All you have to tell them is, I'll join hands with you. Okay. If you say, I cut off with you, he will oppose you. If you keep dangling the carrot, that is why multilateralism is important, and that is why our role in SCO is important, our role in BRICS is important. Okay? Right. Yeah, I've come to the end. Kumar, good evening. Thanks a lot. You've been very nice. Right? Uh, yeah, I'll talk about this when we talk of artillery. You ask me those technology questions, I'll answer. Right. We've finished with the whole lot of questions. Thanks a lot. Tomorrow I'll not be doing anything. Day after I have to go to Bangalore, so maybe I'll not be able to again come back. But on 14th, what I'll do is uh, I will dissect the Ukraine war, because the Ukraine war is coming to a stage where there are certain things which are happening, which is going to impact many things. And after that, I'll again have an open house. So come up with your questions again, right? Because once I explain that Ukraine war, and I take forward what we have spoken today into the Ukraine war, you'll have to understand what it is. Where the Ukraine war is, where is it likely to go, and all, and then we'll see what's going to happen. Because I think it's coming to an interesting stage. I call it the frozen war with large geopolitical implications. We'll talk about it on 14th, right? And on 15th onwards, I'm going to start something different. I'm going to start on the global power players. And the global power players I'm going to analyze are USA, China, Russia, and India. It's a new thought. I'll talk of it. Good evening. Thank you, and Jai Hind.